So when you talk about classes and objects, what do you exactly mean by that? What do you exactly mean by that? So in JavaScript, you can create objects in three ways, mostly we have seen. First by means of what? Object literal notations. In a TypeScript or JavaScript, you can say in a JavaScript in a three ways using object literal notations. Second way is a constructor function, and third way classes and objects. Third way what? Classes and objects. So let me open web dev Angular. And here new folder, day 25. And here readme.md. Classes and objects we are going to see today. Also we are going to see constructor functions, older way of creating class or older way of creating objects in a JavaScript, more precisely before ES6. So here I can say app01.js. For the constructor function I will use JS file. Function car. Function what? Car. Constructor function represents something called as class. Now what do you mean by class? What do you mean by class? Can you tell me? A class is something that is consisting of state plus behavior. Class is something which is nothing but what? State and behavior. So what do you mean by state now? Please explain. Okay. So when you say class, class is a combination of state and behavior. State and what? Behavior. So when you talk about the state, remember that state is nothing but what? The properties. Let's take an example. Let's do it. Car will have speed, right? Car can speed up and apply brakes. Apply what? Brakes. So this is my requirement is there would be a car. We are developing a game, and in a game there is one unit called as car. Unit called as car. So car will have a speed. Now how that speed is represented? This dot speed is equals to 10. Okay, this dot speed is equals to 10, and there would be one function, this dot apply breaks is equals to another function, and here I can say this dot speed minus equals to 10, and this dot, here you can say speed up is equals to function this dot speed is plus equals to 10 speed up. So here when you say function car, this dot speed is equals to 10, apply brakes. So this thing is called as state, and this thing is called as behavior. State represents the properties. Recording is on or not? Yeah, it's on. State represent what? Properties. Behavior represents the functions. Behavior represent what? The function on which state is applied. Function, sorry, the function, I'm sorry, the statement is wrong, last statement. So behavior operates on the state. Behavior operates on the state. See, this is the state. Speed, color, price, speed, color, price, which represents the car. Which represents what? Car. So speed, color, country, make, model, all these things represent what? Car. And the methods that applies or that operates on the state, the methods that operate on the state are called as what? The methods that operate on the state are called as the behaviors, or behaviors are called as methods. Getting my point?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the older way of creating the objects. So there is a prototype also. I will come back to that point shortly. Now what do you mean by object? C1 is equals to new car over here. So this approach is called as constructor function. Name itself is constructor function. Just a minute. So this is the name itself is constructor functions. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. So constructor function, name itself is suggesting that this will act as a constructor. Now what do you mean by constructor? We will see. So here I can say speed, and here this dot speed is equals to speed. Now I hope you have cleared with the concept of this keyword, because everywhere we would be using this. Okay. So whenever you create the object, now what do you mean by object? We will see that. So whenever you, let me go to the JavaScript documentation and the constructor functions. Constructor functions are used to create the multiple instances of an object with the same structure and behavior, right? So this thing is the constructor function, which acts as a class, Now this line is nothing but what? The object. This line is nothing but what? Object.
So, Aniruddha, there is no class keyword.
Presently not.
This is JavaScript.
Yeah, this is a older way. Before ES6, this was the case.
So, which this function behave like a class.
Yeah, because there was no class in a ES6, sorry, ES before ES6. So this is a simulation of the class. And this is the object. We create the object. And this thing is called as constructor function. Constructor what? Function. So you can create the classes by means of the constructor function. But what happened is that ES6 came into the picture and now we are in the TypeScript. So here I can say app02.ts class, right? Branded car. Class branded car. So this is available in the JS also, in the TS also. TS has some other features as well. So here if you can say branded car, deliberately I have created a TS file and constructor keyword. Branded car constructors keyword. And here we can say speed is of type number, right? Speed again is of type number. So this dot speed is equals to, this dot speed means you are pointing to this speed. Even you can attach the access modifier. So in a JavaScript, this is little bit different. Let's not worry about the JavaScript now. Let's focus on the TypeScript. In a JavaScript, we can do this thing in a differently. So class branded car, the speed would be a private, meaning that the speed is accessible only inside these two brackets. The speed is accessible only inside these two brackets. So constructor speed is of type number. This dot speed is equals to speed. Now we can write the methods speed up, and here we can say this dot speed is equals to or plus equals to 30. Apply breaks. Here you can say this dot speed minus equals to 5. We are applying the break. So constructor function is in a pure JavaScript. Even there is no ES6. This will something go. In a ES6, you can write a class, and that class will be something like this. Class top car. Speed constructor speed, and here we can say this dot speed is equals to this speed, right? And then we can have apply breaks. Those would be same, there is no change, like this, speed up and apply breaks. So this is the JavaScript, but here TypeScript gives you access modifiers in this way. In a JS, there is some other way to write the access modifiers. There is a different way to write the access modifiers. Hello?
So you mean classes are also available in JavaScript.
Yes,
Under
ES6, correct.
but it means that what we say scope of the like private public.
No. So these keywords are not available, private, public here.
Yes, this is not available in JavaScript,
Correct.
but available in TypeScript.
TypeScript, correct.
This is the only difference.
This is the only difference. No, nothing else.
Mhm.
Now you can compare it. This is your top car. This is your branded car. Correct?
Correct. So when this PS code translated to JavaScript,
Uh-huh.
so how it will understand this private?
Yeah, I'm coming to that point. Now, cd day 25. And here we can say tsc app02.ts. And if you open this JS file, if you can see, can you see this is a constructor function it has created internally. What is the prototype? We will see. But this is what the constructor function is, branded car. If you supply, can you see this is the ES5? We have set the target as default target is ES5. If you set the target ES6, can you see it will create something called as this thing, which is nothing but here we have created top car, right? Can you see that? ES6 has the classes, but not the full-fledged like TypeScript. TypeScript is having full-fledged classes and objects like private and other things. You can do it in a TypeScript.
So here you have to explicitly give ES6.
Yeah, target. So if you remember, we have seen TypeScript code can be, we can specify in a tsconfig.json. We have specified this target.
Yes.
Right?
We have ES5.
If you don't specify anything, a generated JavaScript code would be in a ES5.
Okay.
Getting my point?
Yeah, because in your config file it is mentioned ES5.
No. If you don't do this thing, if you don't specify anything over here, it will switch to automatic ES5. If you don't specify any JavaScript version, target means what? Target JavaScript version. If you don't specify, by default it would be ES5. But you have a facility to change it as well.
Okay. So I mean, how can we change this ES6 or I mean, it is very machine specific or what? I mean, by default, why 5, not 6?
Because ES5 is widely supported by almost all the browsers.
Okay.
Almost every browser supports ES5, and not all browsers supports ES6, ES7.
Okay. That is why default is 5.
Correct.
Fine.
Is that clear?
Yes. Can you just show me 2 files, one with ES5 and one with
Okay.
just check once.
So this is what app1 dot, this is our file. This is auto generated file. Now just convert it. This would be the ES6. If you look at this, this is a constructor function. Now they have used prototype, something called as, we'll see that later on.
Okay. So generally class is converted to the function.
Constructor function.
Constructor function. Properties and functions.
Got it? This is the constructor function we have written.
So, this question,
Uh-huh.
you can also create a function like this, and with function syntax.
Here,
No, I mean, the basic syntax of the function
is this.
is this, right?
Yeah.
So,
Why we
how
have
can-
created like this? This is your question.
No, I mean, I'm talking about the first part. You mentioned there is a function car spirit, line number 4, and it is a constructor function.
Uh-huh.
I mean, a normal function also have the same definition, right?
Correct.
Function car spirit, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, how can you differentiate this is the constructor function or our regular?
Yeah.
Just
If
because of the other functions included in this, I mean, what is, how can I do?
yeah. Now, good question. If you see, the constructor function always starts with the capital letter. And the normal functions, you can write the normal functions here. Function say hello, and they do not. You getting my point?
Mhm. I mean, this is the only case and upper case and lower case.
Yes.
So if you write the initial letter of the function will be capital, it become a constructor.
Yes. That's the convention. In the JavaScript we have used.
Okay, that's why that day you said me like you don't use capital. Yeah, I remember. Because I was writing a simple function.
With the capital case.
Yes. This is very small difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't do that thing, you will get confused. Now, if you see, we can use const dt is equals to new date. In the JavaScript, in the older JavaScript, this is typically a constructor function. Remember that. It looks like a class. It's a class only, but implemented by means of the constructor function. And there is one method called as parse int. We have seen this method, which converts string to the numbers. Do you remember this? So this is the normal function, while this is the constructor function.
Mhm. Okay.
Right? Just to differentiate. Now, if you do S capital over here, it has a different meaning. And complete react is built on this concept. Complete react builds on this concept. Now, you don't have to worry about react. But if you don't write, can you see function welcome, and it is returning the JSX. What is JSX? Forget about it. It has, you don't have any need to worry about it. But in a React, if you, this is a constructor function which prints this h1. If you don't do this thing, React gives you error. Right? That's the importance. In a React, if you want to create a component, it should be constructor function, and it should start with the capital case. If you don't do this thing, you will get an error. This concept we have applied. Right? This concept is whole and soul. React is built on this concept. Functional components. Okay.
And in normal function,
Uh-huh.
so in normal function we cannot create similar to the constructor function, the behavior means the functions inside function.
You can create, no one is stopping you. This, you can say caps is equals to function. But what's the purpose of this? No one is stopping you in doing this thing. It's a JavaScript. This is also JavaScript here. This is also JavaScript here. There is no problem. You can do this thing.
So only the difference is with the initial.
Correct.
Otherwise everything will be same.
Correct. Is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. When suppose now in the normal function, suppose you write one more nested function in that.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you call, say hello.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So whatever the function inside that function will also use, right?
No. If you have invoked this function inside somewhere,
Parent function.
this dot caps, if you have done something like this over here, then it would be obviously getting invoked.
Correct. Correct. But in case of constructor function, okay, in that case, it is the same scenario like when you call this car function anywhere in the code. In that case also, this apply brakes or speed brake.
Correct. I didn't hear called it apply break.
We have to explicitly call.
Yeah, now we are calling it, and that's why these things would be getting called. And that's why this thing is called as template. Right? And this thing is called as object. Until and unless something is into the existence, this whole thing has no meaning. And who gives you the existence? This object gives the existence to this constructor function. Otherwise, this would be kept in one location of the memory, unutilized.
Right, same as function. If you declare the function, but if you don't call it, there is no meaning.
Yeah, there is no meaning in that case.
Right, got it. Means even if it is a constructor, see, I am confused. Like constructor is like whenever you create any object, and constructor has the same name as the class.
Correct.
Whenever you create an object, the constructor automatically calls. So here, this constructor function, you need to explicitly call the functions defined in the constructor function.
Correct.
Right? This is also a difference. I mean,
go ahead.
Like in case of class, so there are constructor defined in the class, and we create an object of the
class.
That time the constructor is automatically
Called. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But here in case of constructor function, you have to explicitly call the function.
Correct. The minute you create the object, everything will goes on happening. But if you want this function to be getting called, you need to call like this. Even in the case of this, these two things are not getting called. Just constructor would be getting called.
Yeah.
Correct?
And here you don't need to specify the constructor name. Only the constructor
keyword is enough. Yeah. So here you can see const c1 is equals to new branded car, sorry, new branded car with the 300 speed, and then you can say c1 dot apply brakes and c1 dot speed up, and here we can say display speed, console.log current speed is dollar this dot speed, right? C1 branded car with the speed 300. Now what is object? We have seen the constructor function. What is object? Here if you see, what do you mean by object?
It is an instance of the class.
Yeah, object is an instance of the class. So when you create an object based on a class, you are instantiating that class to create the specific instance of its own unique data. So if I create C2 now, const C2 is equals to new branded car. So this branded car comes with its own data. C2 dot speed up. So this would be this object would be having a different data. This object would be having a different data. So here are some key points about the classes. We have seen what do you mean by class? It's a blueprint or a template. Objects are instances, right? Objects are the instances of the class. They can hold the different data. Now constructor is a special function, special method within a class that is automatically called when object is created. So when you create the object, it automatically gets called, right? What is the purpose of the constructor? To initialize the state to the default values. Initialize the state to what? Default values. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by properties? So in our case, speed is the property. There might be other properties also, make, model. What is the make? What is the model? Other properties are also there, right? Then methods, you can say methods are the functions that are defined within a class and they represent the behavior. Remember that general definition of the class is a combination of the state and behavior. This is the state, this is the behavior. Behavior operates on the state. Behavior operates on the state. As far as Angular is concerned, this is important. Okay. Fine. Now, what is an object exactly? Object of a class is an instance of that class, meaning that a multiple objects can be created with the different data. A multiple object can be created with different data. Here is a breakdown of the terminology. Class is a blueprint. Object is an instance of the class. Object of a class means what? When you create the instance of the class, you are creating an object of that class. This involves using the new keyword. Now, what happens when you use the new keyword? Object creation will happen. When you say new keyword, if you see something like this, const c1 is equals to new branded car. Here what is going to happen? Empty object is going to be created first. Then context is going to be assigned, setting this context. In the constructor, we are using this. So meaning of this is getting set secondly. Then constructor invocation. Then class constructors are getting invoked with reference to that this. An implicit return, right? Implicit return. The newly created object is returned to the C2. So first empty object creation, assignment of this, defining this, then invoking the constructor by means of that this, and returning the newly created object. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So let me push this much code. Just go through it once. Here we can say TS and JS classes and objects and constructor functions. Just go through the code. I'll be back in a minute. Yes, any question?
When you create an object,
Uh-huh.
so you said like that particular context is created. So can we, I mean, to visualize it, can we say some particular area that object is created inside the memory, and some values are initialized in that for that variables. Suppose here in case of 300.
Mm-hmm.
So that C1 object has its own context.
Correct.
It is stored into the memory.
Yes.
Which has the initial value as 300.
Correct.
C2 is another object in the another part of the memory where this new object is created.
Correct.
So it has its own 400 as well.
Yes.
So these are two contexts.
Ah.
So can we imagine in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So this becomes this C1 whenever this is getting executed. So this would be replaced by C1, and whenever this is getting executed, this would be replaced by C2. So internally, whenever this line is getting executed, it is actually C2 dot speed. Whenever this line is getting executed, actually this is C1 dot speed. Right? And whenever you are calling this display speed by means of C1, so this becomes C1 dot speed actually. And that's why this would be happening in this way. Now, can you tell me internally which method is getting called? Call, bind, and apply.
Bind.
Call.
Okay. Right. Bind. Here are argument methods, right?
Yeah, when you say bind, bind has a different intention. Bind gives you the partial method, right? Bind works in two things. Call and apply immediately are getting invoked. But bind is not getting invoked immediately. Bind returns the new method. You need to call that new method. Right. Well, these are the basics of what you can say. These are the basics of your classes. Any question on this part? The TypeScript class we have created. Now, after this, I would be starting object-oriented principles. Can you tell me what are the object-oriented principles?
Inheritance and polymorphism.
Correct. Can you tell that?
Inheritance means suppose you created a new class from the existing class. So it inherits the property of the class from which you have created.
Okay.
So again, if there are bits here, like I am telling you the C++ class. Like, suppose there are both like private, protected, and public.
Okay.
So private members will not be inherited. Then public members are inherited in the new class.
Okay.
Polymorphism, like this means the function with the same name, whatever the functions involved in the class, having same name but with different parameters.
Okay. Abstraction.
I forgot it, but when I read it, I will remember. Correctly, I don't remember.
No problem. We are going to discuss all these things in detail. But we'll do it at tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? And we are about to complete our few things are remaining, error handling and other thing. Right? Error handling, asynchronous programming, and remaining topics, strings and other things. And after that, we are going to start with the HTML, CSS and JavaScript together. JavaScript means DOM manipulation. Means how button click works. First that we will see without Angular. And after that, you will understand why Angular is needed, where exactly Angular is needed. So after this HTML, CSS3, JavaScript would be getting started. A few sessions are remaining for JS and TS. We'll cover that. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. We'll meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.